So, welcome to the call, guys. This is Geek Out Fridays, and you're watching the live call. We want to welcome you. It's Friday, February 23rd, 2024, and I'm joined by my partner, Wayne Atkinson. Wayne, give us a shout out.
Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Got a good one today for you.
Yep. Now, today is going to be slightly different than it has been in the past. In the past, all our Geek Out Fridays have been centered around software demos, strategy, and everything. This one, I wouldn't call it a TED Talk, but it's from our experience. And I've been using VAs probably for, I'd say, 10 to maybe a little bit longer than 10 years. Wayne has probably been using coding VAs for probably 15 to 20 years. So we have a little bit of experience in hiring, the culture, how do you communicate and everything. And I've been getting a lot of requests about how do you find them? Where do you find them? Who are you looking for? How do you train them? So I wanted to just kind of share what we do. And at the end, I'll show you some of the software we use. I think just about everything we use is free. And that's the best kind of software, I think, sometimes. But they do have their limits. And based on how we manage our VAs, you're going to find there's quite a bit of difference between what you're asking for versus who you need versus how much communication you need. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. And I've got this on Canva. I'll get the slide decks in the Kajabi so you can look at later. So you don't really need to take notes if you don't want to, but kick back and let me drive for you a little bit here. Okay. This is all about managing and training a virtual assistant. Now let's kind of go over a little bit about what the news reports, what the gurus are saying, what people are saying, the negative about VAs and why sometimes you may not want a VA because it does take a little bit of effort. It does take a little bit of time and it does take a little bit of money, but 90% of VAs underperform. Now, this was a report. In fact, it was a little bit of AI search on this, but there's what employers have reported is that this is a big problem is what they can do themselves, they can't get the VAs to do on a performance basis. So keep that in mind is how do you overcome this? 50% of the VAs reported they were not trained properly to do the jobs they were hired to do. I would say it's more than 50%, at least from some of the ones I've talked to. And a 2% monthly turnover rate. Well, that doesn't sound high, but if you have 2 or 3 VAs and one of them leaves you every 3 months, you're starting over. It's because for me to properly train a VA, I would say that I've spent the one that I have right now that does our PBN network, our websites and stuff like that. He's been with us for a little over 2 years. It took about 6 months of very step-by-step training to get him to do it the way that I wanted it done. So I'm going to kind of give you the tools on how to do it so you can do it quicker and get them up to speed quicker. Okay. So this is kind of the negative about VAs, but let me give you some positives. Okay. Why we hire them. They can tremendously increase your productivity and your own personal efficiency. That's one of the main benefits of hiring a VA is repetitive tasks that you do all the time are basic coding requirements that you may need if you're building software. These are the benefits of hiring a VA is get you to be creative and less repetitive on daily tasks that you can push down to a VA level. Okay. It's a great investment for your business. And we're building a large PBN network to go along with our booster pages. And I can't do that myself and focus on marketing, sales, productivity, doing product development And Wayne couldn't do that either if all he did was coding. Wayne is a extremely talented marketer, and I try to get that out of him sometimes. Is I'm lucky. I've got a partner that's a marketer and a coder, a 2-for-1 special there. But hiring a VA is a lot of times more cost efficient than hiring people on a payroll that you'll have to office, that you'll have to manage on a daily basis. But VAs can cost you a lot of time to get them up to speed and training. Okay, I like this. Growth is never by mere chance. You have to put in the effort. That's what Abe Lincoln has said. Okay, so here's the 4 things that you got to focus on when you're thinking about a virtual assistant. Hiring. To me, this is the toughest part because you are really looking for the diamond in the rough. You've got to match up your culture, the culture of your VA to match up to your business. And you got to figure out how much time am I going to have to put into training this person or retraining them. That's the other thing. Is sometimes they've been trained wrong or they've been trained in a different system and they don't match up to what you're doing. So hiring is very tough. I'll be the first to admit it. But you've got to have a very tough skin, and you're going to have to fire some of these people. Now, firing is not a bad thing. You're basically what you're saying is they don't match up to what your needs are. Okay, so don't hire. And I've been guilty of this. I've hired some VAs and kept them on for 6 months because I was too timid about firing them, and I would always have to redo their work. So if you have to redo your VA's work, that's not the VA that you need. So don't be afraid to fire your VA, okay? And with that knowledge now let's go to the next step. If you're going to hire them, you've got to have effective training. And that's what we're going to really kind of focus on today is how to train your virtual assistants effectively to ensure they work efficiently. Each task or each job assignment, you're going to be looking in different parts of the world to find one that matches up perfectly. And each of those different countries have different cultures for work. And you kind of got to have a background about the culture itself. So we're going to talk a lot about that. Clear communication. This is probably the most important to get effective results. Is you've got to have a way to do daily check-ins, to monitor their progress, and you've got to maintain clear communication between you and the VA if you're self-managing. Now, there are instances where you might want to hire a staff or a staffing agency that's going to manage the time and the daily activities, but you want to start off probably managing your own VA yourself and paying them. It's a little bit cheaper than going through a staffing agency, okay? Payments. We only pay in 2 ways, PayPal or Wise. If they require some other payment method, you need to investigate how much time and what's the true cost that you're going to be paying, okay? So where do you look when you're looking for a VA? What are you looking for and where do you find them, okay? So for our task as media marketers, online marketers, as SEO agencies, there's a lot of things that we do repetitively. I would say blogging, especially with AI, is AI auto blogging. The concept is we want it to do auto blogging, but you've got to have somebody to start the engine, put the fuel in the car, and put the automatic driving car in the right direction. Well, that's what the kind of the repetitive task that they can do over and over and over again. And if you're working in English, you want English results. So Philippines, this is my favorite place to hire VAs for content marketing. The reason is they learn English from kindergarten. So their English is very good. They're a dual language country. They like working for Americans. It's really probably the best of both worlds is they're very loyal to you. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the culture in a few minutes. South America, this is coming on. Brazil, is a good country to hire out of because their economy is so bad that they've got a lot of remote workers that are expats. They were from the US, they're living down there, and they just want some part-time work. So you can get some expats that know English and can write English fairly well living in South America. Panama is a good country, Brazil, Argentina, anywhere where they kind of have a depressed economy, but they have expats living there. Okay. Referrals. We love referrals. One of the VAs I'm working with right now is through a referral. In fact, the guy may be on the call that gave me the referral. So think in terms of that, you always want to me, that's the best source is referrals. Now, coding, different culture, different country, different training. India, Ukraine, Maldives. The reason I like Maldives is Maldives has the lowest, when it's the Euro tax, whatever the Euro tax is, it's the lowest tax rate in Europe. And what it does is it drives, and they actually have coding schools in Maldives to bring over very intelligent coders to live in Maldives and to raise their own tax base. So a lot of them speak English, a lot of them are German and French. So these are kind of the three. India is probably number one. They are very good at coding. They teach a lot of. Ukraine, they start learning coding when they're in elementary school, and coders over in the Ukraine are like rock stars over here. They have there's a lot of Fortune 500 companies that put their coding operations are based in Ukraine, and it's just because this is their gross domestic product is agriculture, but their second is service industries such as coding. Okay, social media. You can go overseas for social media, but social media and editing, content editing done the right way, with your own brand, your own voice, your own slang, you either do it yourself or you hire somebody that is from the US, UK, or Australia. So these are part-timers, students, remotes, and I should have put in here, anytime you find an expat that is kind of like a semi-retired person, they just want something to do for 3 or 4 hours a day. In fact, let's see if somebody is on the call here. Nope, he's not. Scott Patton is probably a very good source if you're looking for somebody to help you find some VA. Scott is all over the world. He does. In fact, yeah, he's not on the call, but you can, if in any of our groups, is reach out to Scott Patton. He can help you sometimes find VAs for content editing and social media marketing. Okay, but we hire local. We hire within our own country. Okay. Managing a virtual assistant. There's 4 key things that you got to. Hiring is number 1. You've got to train them. Train your virtual assistants effectively for the project that they're actually working on. Clear communication. We set up daily check-ins. Wayne does more daily check-ins through Skype. I do my daily check-ins through Trello. A different type of culture, different type of communication that we're using. Payments, PayPal and Wise. I think I may have had that slide already. Okay. So hiring, how do you find them? Referrals. These are the absolute best. I've been asked to find VAs in the Philippines several times, and I used to use Craigslist and onlinejobs.ph. These are good sources, but with Craigslist, you're going to have to talk to 5 to 10 to maybe even more than that, 20 people to find one good one. You're going to have to give them some writing samples. You're going to have to, for whatever task you're wanting them to do, is get a good resume. They should have a good portfolio. This is time intensive to find them this way. Okay. The other way is Upwork. So you can hire some people doing Upwork projects. If these are one-off projects, I would just go straight to Upwork, or I didn't put in here is Fiverr. Fiverr is another. Fiverr is for very short projects. Upwork is for a larger project that's usually going to be between 1 week to 3 or 4 months. If you're going to hire anybody over 6 months, go direct with the solo hire, Craigslist, online jobs, or just get a referral. Okay. Now, if you don't want to manage their time, you don't want to manage their payroll or their time or anything else, you just want to have results, you're going to need a staffing agency that will do this. Now, what you've done is just increased your VA cost by at least 50%, if not 100%. So if you're hiring anywhere in the Philippines, you're looking between, I'd say on the low end, 400, 600 to 700, on the high end per month, $700 per month. That's on the very high end. They should be able to do social media as well if you're at 700. We're usually between 400 and 500 on our repetitive task VAs. Okay. Coders, they're going to be more money, a little bit more money. Especially if you're going into the Ukraine, you're probably talking 1,500 to 2,500 a month for a good coder. In Ukraine, India is probably 600 to 1,200 for a coder in India. Okay. And again, you can hear some recommendations for staffing agencies. I haven't used either one of these, but I've read a lot of good reviews about Task Bullet, and I started going down this VA staffer, and I figured out that's going to be a little bit more cost for me. Think about if it's one at a time, and if you can manage their time without it interfering with what you're trying to accomplish. And you do that with training. So let's talk about training. Wayne, any questions at this point?
No.
Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Philippines, hiring that type of person. And then Wayne's going to talk a little bit about hiring coders for India. Okay. So let's talk about repetitive tasks. I would go strictly to the Philippines. If I have some good referrals for expats in South America, I will go in that direction, at least in interviewing them. Okay. So the culture with the Philippines is slightly different than what you would find with other countries. They're very loyal to Americans. I think we've helped them out in a world war. They want to do a great job. They realize their cost of living is so much cheaper than us that you can get fair pay to them is really cheap for us and below our national pay average over here. This is where your $400 to $700 a month is. $700 a month is very good pay for a solo remote worker in the Philippines. Okay. They also want a long-term commitment. You don't have to tell them that you're going to hire them for 2, 3, 4 years, but they want to know that it's longer than a couple months, or they're not interested in sticking around. They just want a good job, and a good job to them. They're making $500 a month, and they're loyal in that they have some issues with internet over there. Is the internet doesn't run all the time, or if a typhoon hits, that's unfortunate for the people in the lowlands, but the internet goes down for the entire country or for very large regions. And you've got to take that into account. What they do, what I've been experienced with, is I tell them, hey, I want 40 hours a week. If your internet's down Wednesday and Thursday, I would hope that you're going to make it up on Saturday and Sunday. And most of them are absolutely fine with that, especially if they can if they know what they're going to be working on. They're just machines, especially if you get the training right and you get the task requirements, you can have them do over and over and over again repetitive tasks. And they're very, very good at it. Okay. But they want to do a great job from day one. What that means to you is they're going to watch your videos. They're going to go through the checklist. They're going to go through the step-by-step scribe how, and they're going to practice moving their mouse around, following your scribe. okay, just to learn a very simple task that we would take for granted. Hey, you show me how to do it, I can do it, and don't bother me, I'll keep on doing it. But they're going to watch your video 4 or 5 times. Okay, even me. I mean, I know how to train, but I get really long-winded, and it's sometimes an hour and a half, 2 hours to train on somebody that should be 30 minutes. But they'll watch that 2-hour video for 3 or 4 times before they say, hey, I'm confident enough to go to the next step, which is the workflow. Give me the checklist. Now, over time, they will have a little bit more confidence to watch your video once, go to the checklist. I do my workflow checklist in Trello or a Notion doc. You've seen, I even have a chat GPT. I have a book coming out about content marketing workflows. I am very structured in, I want to give them step by step how to do it, both in a checklist and I want to show them screenshots. This Scribe How, this is the only one I'm really paying for. Trello is free and Notion's free. But Scribe How records, you may have seen a few of these, it records each screen and each mouse click. And it's a very neat program to use if you're training a lot of people or if you're training in different subject matters. For instance, is all our training, I'm redoing a lot of our training on AI Master and RSS Master, and I'm using Scribe How to record the screenshots along with shorter videos. I'm trying to get them down to less than 10 minutes. That's really hard for me to do. But I know that Scribe How is doing screenshots. I've got a workflow checklist and a video. So I try to make my training courses now so that if you're hiring a VA, they can watch our training courses on AI Master or RSS Master, and they'll watch it a few times and they'll try it, and then they'll watch the video some more. So, feel free to give them your login access to the Kajabi account, Big Penguin Productions, into the library, and let me train them for you. Okay. Next is you've got to have some type of communication feedback loop. And that's what I'm going to talk about next after we talk about coders. Okay. Now, what if you're hiring a coder? Wayne's going to talk about that, what their culture is, and things you need to know when you're hiring them, and kind of how to project manage them. Wayne, you ready?
Yeah. Coders really, well, my experience is more India, but obviously there are other countries, but there's quirks with India and there's quirks with Ukraine. I find that if you have got a software project that you want to hand off to someone, if you can find someone in India, because they are massively work orientated, in my experience, once you find someone that you've got a good trust between you and the person, they shouldn't really be going off and wasting time on Facebook or whatever or anything like that. They get the job done. They send back what they've done for you to test, and then as long as you're quite prepared to spec out what you need, and you've got to be testing it. You want to minimize their downtime. You don't want to like push them so that they're burning out. But you want to be able to like test in a timely manner. And if you think what they've returned is going to be a while before you can give them the results back, then set them on another task. Say, oh, I'm going to be testing this now. It might take me a while, but while I'm doing that, can you have a look at this? Can you and then they'll go off and start doing that. But it's good to get one project done at a time. But you start to get to know how each other works over a long period of time if you end up with keeping someone for that time. Another thing with Indians is don't give them too much graphic design to do because they're not very good at it. It's taken me a while when you put 3 fields in a form, I want them to be left aligned and I want them to be the same length. In the early days, it was like one would be like indented and all over the place and it would look really strange. Again, Once you start like, this is how I want it to look, they get it. Money wise, in India's it's cheap, but they have come across the same problem that everyone has with inflation, and things have started to rise in the last 12 months. So if you was paying someone $500, they'd probably be wanting $600 or $700 now, because everything's gone up. But you should be getting a decent coder for $500 or $600. But if someone's excellent and they know how they how you work together, and they know all your projects, you could be paying upwards of maybe $900 to $1,000. But if you compare that to what you'd pay, say, in the UK or in the States, they'd be wanting 3,000 to 4,000 a month. So you can see the benefits, but you've obviously got to get that reputation between the two of you. What else? I think in our experience, many years ago, we was looking, and we had someone that actually worked. He was from India, and he rallied about 10 people together, and he went on various places that we've already explained, and Upwork, and I think there's a place called Virtual Employee as well, which you can try and find people. But you need to give them, let's say you get 5 people, you need to give them all the same test and see how they cope with it. And then when the results come in, you can see how well they did, how well the software performs that they've written. And it could be something quite simple, but you got to let them run with it and see if they understand the language that you're wanting to do your software in. So if you yourself know a bit about PHP, for example, you might want to find a PHP coder so you can kind of understand what they're doing. It's not compulsory, you don't have to be a coder. But I've been a coder all my life, been developing software for years. So it was beneficial for us. I set them a test, and we narrowed it down to 2 people, and then eventually we just kept the one. But we actually flew him over to live with us in the UK, which is, a different approach, but it meant we had hands-on training, and we could see one another. We built up friendship, and then after 6 months, he went back to India, and basically he's been working with us ever since, really. That's kind of a exceptional rule. But what I would recommend is, if you do find someone on a paper job and you like what they do, try and get them to leave where you found them and get them to come and work for you. If you've got enough work, then you can get them to work for you full time. If you haven't, then they're not going to want to do that. They're going to want to find jobs from elsewhere. But if you've got plenty, and you know that you've got some good projects, if you can get them to work for you full time, it's just much better, because then you can talk about your projects more freely. They're not going to go off and tell other people what they're doing, and basically it works a lot better, because then you can obviously not pay if you get them off the platform that they were on. You don't have to pay the commission to them as well. So you can say, hey, do you want to do this job, and I'll pay you direct, and basically eventually then you can either gauge that you work that way all the time, or you can get them to work for you full time and pay them effectively a salary. Don't employ them though by your own company because of tax. Just pay them as a contractor, and then let them deal with tax in their own country, even when they're from India or from Ukraine or anywhere. Because then in your accounts, you can just put down as an expense the whole amount you pay them. That gets offset against tax, and then they have to deal with their own income tax, which is far less headachy.
Anything else, Wayne?
Um,
Let me go on to the next one, is kind of the communications, and you can kind of fill in with this.
Yeah, I mean, I use Skype because we did that from years ago, and it works well for us. Microsoft Teams is pretty good. There's a lot of tools in that to keep an eye on what they're doing. Trello is one we use, which is
Yep.
pretty good. Damon's going to show you that later.
Yeah, we use Zoom and Facebook Messenger. But here's kind of now I'll go back over. With the Philippines, if you've done this right, you've got a video workflow, a step-by-step checklist, and you've got it all set up on Trello. I talk to my VA maybe once a week. Sometimes it's once every 2 or 3 weeks, just on Zoom. But we chat back and forth through Trello as I'm tracking what he's doing each day. So he'll put in comments or questions, and I'll reply back very promptly on Trello. Completely different way to manage a VA that's a coder. Wayne talks to his coder 2 or 3 times, if not more, each day via Skype or Zoom.
Yeah, I mean, today, for example, was a backwards and forwards, and pretty much most of the day. It just depends. Sometimes he can be doing something, and we speak probably twice. Are you getting on with this? Yeah, yeah. And then he'll come back and say, "I've just updated," and then you have to go and test. What I will say though is, if you do go down this route, no matter what relationship you've got, how friendly you are, and how much you trust one another, only let them have access to a test site so that you can test anything that you're building. And then when you're happy with it, you yourself or someone else that's part of the company or whatever, move software to a live environment. It's paid dividends for me. I very, very rarely have any problems because I'm the only one that's in control of the live sites and the live databases. And if you're not that way inclined, then obviously you've got to give more trust to the person that you're employing as the VA. Because if you don't know anything about it, then and they've got to run it all for you, then that's a different kettle of fish, really. But if you do know some tech, then I would recommend you keep the important pieces to yourself.
Yep. Especially if it's intellectual property that you don't want to share. You know, give them smaller chunks so they can't see the big picture type deal. And Wayne brings up a really good point is with I have shown, in fact, if somebody's paying me to train them specifically and one-on-one, my rate is $250 an hour. I'm cheaper than most, but in 2 to 3 hours, that person's going to know everything. So my VA has gotten a lot of training from me at zero cost for him. So I've shared intellectual property. I've shared some of the things we're doing on the back end that nobody else sees. I've shared passwords and all this. You've got to have a level of trust with them before you start sharing all this. And it does take time. So, if you're hiring a VA and you expect a return on investment in 30 days, you're probably not going to see it unless you have some magical stock tracking device that makes you crypto money or something else. Okay. Your return's going to come in about 3 to 6 months down the road. Is you Just because you have a VA, that doesn't mean you stop working and developing things for yourself. Is you be more efficient at what you're doing and let the repetitive tasks be done by a VA. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's talk about how do we actually manage, how do we communicate 2 different formats that we're going to be talking about. Task assignments and reporting. I do that with Trello, and I'm going to show you Trello in just a second. I use the free version. Wayne and I have used the free version since the day we met, is probably 4 years ago. We build our software on Trello. We're not going to show you those, but we'll show you how I manage the PBM. Okay. ClickUp is a great little tool. There's several in fact, somebody said Process Street. Yeah, that's a good one. ClickUp. I mean, you could use OneNote. There's all types of ways to do task assignments. I find that the easier it is to understand visually, the better the communication is. The reason I put ClickUp in, it is a great tool. It is a long learning curve just to learn how it works. I got very frustrated with it because my VA didn't understand how to do it. And because I just spent 2 weeks learning how to use ClickUp and he didn't understand it. We went back to Trello immediately, and Trello's an easy one to understand on how to do your basic task assignments and reporting. Okay. Especially kind of the way that I've set it up. I've just learned over time, there's a specific format that you want to use. And I'm going to show it to you. Okay. Time tracking. If he's on a salary basis, you really don't need a formal time clock that he has to punch into. There is time tracking software out there. I'm not even going to recommend one because there's so many good ones out there. You can use QuickBooks for time tracking. In fact, I know there's some recommendations coming in here right now for time tracking. If you need time tracking software and you need to see what he's doing or she's doing at all times, just go into Google and search time tracking software, and you're going to find really good software in there. Okay. Live communications. We either do Skype or Zoom. I like Zoom. I don't like Skype. Zoom for me is I can plan when I'm going to go on Zoom. Skype I leave open and it's an interruption for me throughout the day. And I don't want that. I want to schedule when I talk to my VA. So I give them a couple hours notice is, hey, can you communicate? Philippines time is exactly opposite of my time. So 11 o'clock right now, 11:41 Central Time is, I think he's 13 hours ahead. It's midnight somewhere over in the Philippines. Okay. So we have a very small window that we can actually communicate via Zoom call. And I kind of have to schedule it with them. Wayne's the same way, except India is not such a big time difference between the two of them. So for me, he gets all his communication with his coder done before we even talk on a Zoom call on a daily basis. But I'm on Facebook Messenger, so at any time my VA needs help, he knows this is the way that 24/7 I'm going to be, well, not 24/7, but most of the time I've got my phone and Facebook Messenger on. So this is kind of communication. I don't do a lot of chit chat and social networking and all that. I don't do all the fun stuff with my Facebook Messenger. It's for work. I communicate with Wayne. I communicate with our coder. Our VA, and I communicate with customers that are paying for support. Okay. So if you try to reach me on Facebook Messenger, I don't reply immediately. It's probably because I'm doing something, for our business. But Zoom, if you book a Calendly call, you're going to come through Zoom with me. And this is kind of how I manage because I can record the call. So when I talk to my VA, we turn on Zoom, we turn on the recorder, and he gets that recording at the end of the call. And he will watch it quite a few times, sometimes before he kind of gets it and then moves on. Wayne, any further thoughts on this?
Yeah, talking about time zones. Well, if you've got someone that you like and you're working well with, you can ask them to rearrange their day so that it's a little bit closer to you, which is what I've done. They log in later, but they stay on longer into their evening almost. Not everyone will do that, but if you can, it's better that you get more communications time throughout their workday. If they need any, what about this? How about that? Can you do this? If you're out of the time zone, you've got to wait till the next day, and it just adds extra time onto projects which you don't want.
Yep.
Some will for the right money, they will rearrange their working day so that they come in later in the morning for them, but stay on later until the evening. Unless they're the other side of the world to you, then you work it the other way.
Yep. And Walt mentioned Zoom has great AI add-ons like Note Taker. Absolutely. They got Zoom is Zoom is really advanced. I think COVID kind of helped them get to that level, but be practical and time efficient with the communication that you have with them. Wayne has a more personal relationship. I don't have that with my VA, and I probably never will, because I'm more. I want to see. I've got goals for him to do, and I want him to complete the goals, and then we'll get new goals. So he's an employee. He's not. You're not hiring a friend. You're hiring an employee, and just don't. Like I stated at the beginning, don't be afraid to fire them if they're not matching your goals. You will get some VAs that will work for you for a year, and then they'll burn out. They want to go do something else. That's no problem. You just got to hire somebody else. The best place to get a referral is ask the VA that is working for you. Do you know anybody? Because if they recommend them, they're kind of on the hook too. They're going to give you a quality referral if they know somebody. Okay. My VA is out. He's in the upland country, and in a village that I can occasionally hear chickens crowing. So it's not a very populated community he's in. So I can't get any really great referrals to pass on to y'all. But it's, if you get a good VA, they typically will have good referrals. Okay. So let's keep on going. Payments. We either pay with PayPal or Wise. Just about every country that you're going to be dealing with will do one of the two. Wise will actually go straight to a bank account, or they can pick it up at like a cash store, where they'll walk into a cash store. You can do wired, and you can do the crypto, but we don't use that. It's one, what you pay today may be a completely different value tomorrow. And some countries don't allow the crypto to be spent, kind of like the US. So PayPal or Wise, very easy. And surprisingly, they actually had the same exact rates. Okay, must-haves. You may find the best person in the world to be your VA, but if he doesn't have a fast and dependable internet, he's basically useless. And I say that kind of tongue in cheek, but they're going to be on the internet 100% of the time if they're working for you remotely. Okay. So they've got to have a fast and dependable internet. And you have to ask them a second question. What happens when your main internet goes down? Can you get high-speed Wi-Fi? Can you go to a coffee shop? Can you go to an internet cafe? Ask them what their plan is when their main internet goes down. Typhoons, like I said early in the call, wipe out the internet in the Philippines. And they have a lot of typhoons. They have a lot of natural disasters seem to happen, flooding, everything. So ask them what their backup is on the internet if it goes down. What I've done with my VA is, hey, if you're down on Wednesday and Thursday, work Friday and Saturday, or Saturday and Sunday. I want 40 hours a week. So they've got to also have a laptop or PC computer that's fairly current, built in the last 3 years. They can't have a laptop that was built 10 years ago, because it's not going to use the same software, or it's going to crash more often. Even if they're using a light cell server, they still have to have a computer fast enough to work remotely. Okay. You can, if you want to, you can buy them a Chromebook. One of the things I've done in the past is my VA needed something in the Philippines, and I actually found Amazon. There's a version of Amazon that will deliver to the Philippines. So I ordered it, and it was delivered within like 3 or 4 days. And I think it was a microphone or something like that in the Philippines. And it's same cost as here. So make sure they have a fairly current laptop or PC, and they know how to use it. They know ask them the second question. What happens when your PC goes down? You have a backup. So you need follow-up questions to all these, but these are the must-haves. Okay. if they're going to be on Zoom or Skype, or you want to see them and kind of look in their eyes and make sure they understand what you're asking, they're going to need a webcam. Okay. But if the webcam doesn't work, it's no big deal as long as they have a good microphone and regular environment. And I put it in here, a regular environment. I didn't know how to correctly explain this. And Wayne said, no coffee shop VA. I said, hey, that is a perfect analogy. Prior to the VA that I'm using now, I had a VA that I had for almost 3 years. But his third year, he was kind of getting burned out, and I think he was taking classes to be a chiropractor or something. He was a content marketer and a chiropractor. But office environment included chickens and goats and other wild animals that you could hear over the microphone. And there was a month that the typhoon completely wiped out his village, and he actually went to another village to get on the internet cafe and kind of work it. And I think that's the time he kind of started going to school. So, they've got to have a good, clean environment to work out of. And I'm clean, I mean noise wise. Okay. So that when you're communicating, there's not a lot of distractions. If they're at a coffee shop, people are walking back and forth and they're talking, and it's a social distraction. So no coffee shop VA. Also, what we mean by this is the coffee shop VAs, they may find when they're at the coffee shop a better opportunity. So you've spent 6 months training them, and they're at the coffee shop talking to a friend, and they go, oh, well, this company's paying $600 a month. And it's a lot less work, or whatever the pitch is. For the most part, your Philippine worker is going to ask you, can you match them before they leave? But there's some that will go, I cannot work for you anymore, or they'll try to do both jobs at the same time. That's what the coffee shop VA is. They're working multiple jobs. They're in a social environment that they could leave you because they're talking to somebody at the next table and go, oh, I'm making more money. So keep that in mind, is where they work. You don't want a lot of social distractions that may point them down to the next shiny object, basically. Wayne, anything else to add to this?
No, I think you said it really. Basically, people work from the coffee shop because they get free internet.
Yep.
It's not really what you want.
Okay. So let's talk about the software we use. I'm going to show you a couple of things on Trello and the Notion docs, how I use it. But there's only a few of them that I actually pay for. Zoom, we pay a monthly fee on Zoom. Trello, we're using free. Facebook Messenger's free. YouTube, we put the videos on Vimeo or YouTube. We do them unlisted, so they're not shared publicly. I like Vimeo because I can make them private, so nobody on Vimeo would ever see them at all. Even if they had the link, they're not going to see them. Occasionally, I'll send a video through Facebook Messenger, but more Facebook Messenger is for our immediate back and forth contact. Wayne uses Skype. Same difference. Notion docs, this is kind of where my checklists are all residing, and step-by-step guides. And you can kind of see when I show you how I keep everything together. Scribe how, this is my step-by-step, and you'll see more of these. We have a shared server. The reason we have a Lightsail server, we have ZimWriter on it, we have some other tools on it, but my VA uses the Lightsail server to run ZimWriter, and he uses his internet to connect to AI Masher, RSS Master, and some of our other tools. I've given him his own access code to use those tools. We don't sell extra access codes or team codes with our software, and we may be adding that down the road. But it's okay for them to use your AI Masher account. It's okay for them to use your RSS Masher. No problem there. In fact, Scott Boland may be on the call too, is if you train them right on setting up your RSS Masher to do AI Masher to RSS Masher, and you're building a complete ecosystem of social syndication and posting. If for some reason that VA doesn't work out, you've already got all the tools set up. You can just plug a new VA in to help you with the content writing. He puts it in AI Masher, it shoots it over to RSS Masher. Or if he set up your RSS feed rewriting, these are things that set it and forget it. Even the VAs can do a set it and forget it system for you, okay? We use our VA because we've got a lot of sites. We got over, I think, 300 sites between Masher sites and MasherNet, booster pages, and WordPress. And it's a lot. And that's why I have to have all these checklists to keep up with everything, okay? But we use a Lightsail server. We also have production servers, development servers, and our production software is either on the server or they can access it through a SaaS app. Wayne, anything else to add before this?
No, not really. Because we've got lots and lots of software, we're quite server heavy.
Yep, quite server heavy. Okay. Oh, that's not really the end. Let me just show you. I'm going to bring over some screens so I can kind of show you how we keep track of everybody. Okay. This is Trello. If you've never seen, these are called Kanban boards, but you can add tasks, and they're basically cards here like add this card, hit enter. You can move it over here to current working or this week's assignment. So this is what my VA is working on right here. This is our communication back and forth. This is if I've got new stuff coming in or that he's going to be working on next week, I'll add it right here. And as he starts working on it, he moves it over here, what he's currently working on. When he finishes it, he'll move it over here to completed. If we're doing page builder campaigns or completed, ready to archive. So he'll move it over here out of the way or when he's completed with it, okay? I have a board in here. So this is what he's working on. This is next week's assignment. And these are called fill-in projects, okay? I have fill-in projects and I have to train them on every one of them, how to use them. But in the fill-in projects is finish WordPress site builds after content for Damon. And I've got checklists. So he knows what fill-in projects, WordPress site builds, okay? So he will check off the ones as he completes it. And then we have a dialogue back and forth. If he has some issues, he'll let me know inside of Trello, okay? Very easy way to communicate with them. This one is a fill-in project. This is to make listicles for MasherNet. So if he runs out of these, he can come over and jump over to the fill-in project. So let me show you, I have two things he has to kind of update. Please status me on what you're working on each day, okay? So yesterday, check PBN on WordPress sites, create an article for Techie Sip. I will work tomorrow and Sunday to compensate for lost time yesterday and today. Added rank math, WPMU, other plugins, and Redscope. And I haven't installed Zox. So he's letting me know with a picture here. So this is our feedback loop right here. I don't need to get on a Zoom call for him to tell me, hey, please install Zox for me, okay? So these are just communications back and forth. I kind of give him a thumbs up that I've read what he's communicated with me. So this is to let me know he's on salary, so I don't need to track his time, but I do want to know what he's doing each day. He does it here. Then this is kind of the checklist. PBM blog article creation. So he's working on this, kind of give him some setup instructions, create 30 plus articles per category. Start with the top one, work your way down, use chat. Here's some prompts, here's some attachments. And so he's got these two sites left to build out. So he's putting a lot of articles in here. The second part of the news sequence and any notes I have back and forth, I will communicate this with him, okay? Now, training, how do I train them? Well, bring over my Notion doc. Okay, so right now he's doing PBN setups and this is his training. This is the exact, in fact, this is the board that he's using. So I put in here the training videos, PBN sites on WordPress, and this is an hour-long video. I know he's watched it at least 4 times. I cannot watch myself 4 times. I don't know how he's doing it, but he's doing it. So I make a training video on how to set up step by step the PBN sites on WordPress. I won't share this because this is proprietary information on how we do it. I will make another video for the public consumption. Okay. But this is specifically for him. Okay. Close it out. And here's the links that we used. Okay. We have a checkbox for the network grid. If he needs to do WordPress news site checklist, a Google Sheet, launch CDN, and PBN LTD. Wayne, remind me, I've got to change some password there, but you can see I've got passwords in there. So I'm not going to open all these. These will have the link to get into AI Indexer or Minion Builders along with the password to get into it. So here's all the links that he would use. And here's the PBN setup checklist. Okay. And hopefully passwords in there too. So in the checklist, I will post this I think I've already posted this in the workflow builder, but this is an example of a checklist. I write down, I'm old school, I will write down on paper every single step I take to accomplish this private blogger network setup on WordPress. So I'm going to install a Zox news thing, and then I'm going to do rank math. And if it's a new install, update rank math features to pro level, and then I go in dashboard, toggle on these features. This is kind of why I like using Notion is it's got these toggles. So you can kind of consolidate everything. So I want to verify content AI. So these are step-by-step directions on how to set up rank math. Now, run before instant indexing and give it time to finish. You could see I am very, very detailed about the steps. I don't have checkboxes here, but I know he's printed this out and this is what he uses. Okay. On-site WordPress dashboard, update all plugins and themes, export any WordPress data. So there's certain things I want him doing very specific on what to do. Even adjust WordPress settings. I try to kind of give them an idea of what it's going to take to do this section here. It's going to take you about 20 minutes. You're going to set the time zone, the tagline, default categories, add pings. Here's the ping list I want you to use. Reading, discussion, permalinks. Okay. So you can kind of see this is very, very detailed. And the parts that I do, I just put in here, Damon will do this part. Damon will do this part. So he knows here's the complete checklist, but here's what I do and what he needs to do. Okay. So that's the PBN checklist.
So Walt wants us to create a training on Notion for SOPs. He said he would buy it.
I'm going to refer you to YouTube, Walt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, don't let everything that Notion can do kind of overwhelm you. Find things that you need it to do and then go to YouTube and start asking questions. Jill asked a great question. It would be cool if you did training on PBNs. We are going to do a mastermind course on PBNs. It's probably going to be June or July. It will be a summer course. It will be a paid course. And I'm going to reveal everything that we're doing. And then you may want to build your PBNs, or you may want to buy a PBN that we're going to be building down the road. I have my VA, by that time, will be able to build a PBN from scratch. Jill, you're asking a question, how much? I don't know. How much are we going to sell a PBN for? I can't answer that question right now. But they'll be affordable for, if you're an AI Master member, it's not going to be a $9,000 course like some of these silly people do, but it would be very affordable. Yeah. Any other questions? I tried to wrap this up within an hour.
I think so. I think we're done, aren't we?
Okay. And hopefully everybody got something out of it. you may not want it. You may find out, hey, I don't really want all this extra work to manage a VA. And that's fine. But sometimes you just don't want to do everything yourself, or it's not productive to do everything yourself. But you also have to have a return on your investment. You've got to be able to measure that return. So keep that in mind too, is, if you're going to bring on a VA, do they pay for themselves after 3 or 4 months? So that's kind of the end. If we don't have any other questions, I know this wasn't really a software demonstration. It's more of a strategy, look over our shoulder, see what we're doing. I can say positively, this is what we do on a daily basis. It may not be the most effective or best or efficient way, but it's what we do, and what we've kind of, over the years, have kind of narrowed it down to is keep it simple. Whatever you do, make it simple to manage, but make it detailed where you're training them. The better you train them, the more you can ask them to do, or the more efficient they're going to be doing in processing tasks. Wayne, anything before we leave?
No, not really. Just don't miss in 2 weeks.
Yep. And yeah, I want to give y'all, I really want to give you some hints. I want to give you some tips. I even teased Matt Zimmerman, and he said, I cannot wait to see it either. So I'll start dropping hints next week as they're getting done. But please be on that call live, because you will start doing some things after the call that you've never done before. So,
yes, we're cooking something up, so make sure you book your ticket to the next episode.
Yep. So anyway, bye-bye for now, and we'll see y'all in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.